Drapes and CG here, back on the drive, guys. Sactown Sports 1140. We'll get more into some Brandon Aiyuk conversation and a potential fit maybe in Washington for Aiyuk with our next guest, 12-year NFL veteran, a QB, MVP back in the 1983 season, wore the number 7 for the Washington football team back in the late 70s and 80s. Joe Theismann joining the drive, guys. Joe, welcome to the show, man. You're on with Drapes and CG. How are you today?
Great, guys. Thanks for having me. I look forward to visiting with you for a while.
Right on. Yeah, let's get it right into it, Joe. You know, a lot of talk has been about our star receiver out here, Brandon Aiyuk, and his future with the San Francisco 49ers. One of the teams mentioned in a potential trade for Aiyuk is the Washington Commanders. How do you think Aiyuk would fit into Washington, and what would he bring to that football club?
Well, he brings a lot of experience. He brings a lot of talent. Now, you know, the question is if you're in his position and you have places to choose from, would you go someplace where there's a rookie quarterback? I think that's one of the considerations, because there's going to be a growth process for Jaden. There's going to be a growth process for everybody, for Drake, for Jaden, you know, for Caleb. You know, everybody's going to go through it that are young. And so, you know, what do you bring? You bring experience, a winning attitude. Certainly, you know, the compensation's gone nuts everywhere. You know, I mean, whether it's wide receivers, quarterbacks, running backs, you know, the compensation has gone through the roof. I think he's a very valuable and vital part of the San Francisco 49ers. You know, but there comes a time when you have to look down the road. They're going to have to pay Brock probably next year. So how much are you going to commit now when you have to think about the contract that's coming up for Brock Purdy in the next year or so? So I think, you know, it's more about economics. And I don't think, you know, players see what everybody else is getting, but the economics sometimes just don't work. And that's why we see guys move on. But he brings experience, toughness, you know, a championship attitude. I think all those things are something he can bring to the table.
Joe, when you look at the game today, and the Brandon Aiyuk situation is just one of many like that we see every year. When you look at the game, free agency, the money that's involved, agents and so on, options for players, compared to when you played, obviously the game has changed. Football is football. But what when you're watching the stuff play out off the field, what are you thinking, Joe?
Well, you know, it's funny. I played at a time when there wasn't free agency. You played your rear end off for your job. Nowadays, it's like I'll play my rear end off because this is the last year of my contract, and then I'm going to fall into a pile of money. I think that's some of the inspiration for some of the guys. Not all of them. I think the guys love to play the game. I still believe that guys love to play the game of football, but economics has changed it so much, and it's given guys pause to say, okay, I have a year left on my contract. Well, I want to renegotiate my contract. If you're a team and a guy has time left on the contract, sit down and say, play your contract out. You know, the classic example was Joe Flacco in Baltimore. He played his contract out, won a Super Bowl, and got a big payday. Now guys are getting big paydays because there isn't any market out there. I mean, there's no quarterbacks, guys. Think of the quarterbacks. Where do you go to find a quarterback if you don't sign a Dak Prescott, if you don't sign a Trevor Lawrence? You know, where do you go to find somebody that can help you as a coach keep your job, first of all, and then secondly, run an offense to give your team a chance to win? I mean, those numbers are small when it comes to the quarterback position. The wide receiver position, you know, to me, I think Tyreek Hill is the best and most dangerous player in football. Whatever he gets, he deserves. When they gave Tua the money, they had to give Tyreek the money because he changes the dynamic on defense for everybody, no question. But how many receivers have that kind of explosiveness, that kind of speed that can make a difference? And you know, look at San Francisco's offense. Could there be someone else in that offense in the wide receiver position to do what Brandon does? Could there be someone who fits that role that they have? Because let's face it, every receiver has a role. Every tight end has a role. Every running back has a role. Everybody has a role as it fits into the offense. Now, the question San Francisco's got to ask is, you know, do we have someone, if we're willing to, you know, entertain a trade, do we have someone who can fill in that position? That's the question they have to ask. themselves.
We got the great Joe Theismann on here with the Drive Guys, Sactown Sports 1140. Joe, when we look at the money being handed out, we see, Justin Jefferson getting 35, 36. You talked about Brock Purdy. Some say Brock might get $60 million next season from the Niners. Do you feel like teams are being, and this isn't having to do with Purdy, so I don't want people at home to think this is any Purdy slander or anything like that, but do you think teams are sort of being backed in, cornered into having to pay these quarterbacks who aren't really elite, aren't really Super Bowl caliber, but because it's so hard to find even just an average to a slightly above average quarterback, you got to pay a guy?
I think they are somewhat backed in, but in Brock's case, I think he's proven he's Super Bowl caliber. People look at, well, his arm's not that strong. He's this. People have made excuses for not liking this guy. I happen to think he's terrific. I think he plays the position so well. He's smart. He gets rid of the ball on time. He understands what he needs to do. He knows how to protect the ball. Those are all the boxes you want checked if you have a quarterback, and he checks them all. And he will probably, in all likelihood, receive a very big payday. I remember I was with one of the owners 6-7 years ago. And I asked him, I said, do you believe we'll ever see a $50 million quarterback? He said, oh, yeah. And I went, oh, I just can't believe that. Now it's like you see a $65 million quarterback, the numbers are going through the roof. And the big thing is the capologist is as important at this football team as anybody, every football team. How do you spread the money out? Look at the problems in Dallas. What do you do with Micah? What do you do with CeeDee Lamb? What do you do with Dak Prescott? What message is Jerry Jones sending to Dak Prescott when you see people like Trevor Lawrence get a contract, Tua get a contract? Dak's got to be sitting there going, all these other guys are getting contracts. There's no impetus for him to sign a contract if he becomes a free agent, because I think in his contract they can't trade him and they can't franchise him. So he will go to the open market. Now, does he go to the open market in a similar situation that we saw Lamar Jackson go? Lamar's was a little different because there was going to be compensation that had to go back to the Ravens.
Right.
I said, hey, see if you can find somebody at your age, Dak, to pay you $65 million a year. I mean, it's all a chess game right now, and it's a roll of the dice. But I sit here and I watch these young quarterbacks, and listen, I don't begrudge anybody a penny they can make. Good for these guys. I think that the numbers are getting crazy, and now you need a good capologist to figure out how to pay everybody. Because it isn't just paying the people now; it's the guaranteed money that's got you. Well, look at the Denver Broncos. Look where they are. They're on the hook for 35, 36 million of Russell Wilson's money.
Right.
Of course, the Steelers are $1 million too. We throw around these $1 million numbers like they're paper. Oh, here, have another piece of paper. Here's another paper. Oh, here's one. Here's $5 million. Take this one. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Joe, you're the perfect guy to ask this question to. It's very well documented. You're talking about Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, and he's going to be making all kinds of money on his next contract. You just said that. Everybody knows that. But you're around a lot of executives. We watch NFL draft every year. It's one of the great nights of television if you're a sports fan. And Joe, we go inside the war rooms. We got 10, 12, 15 guys in great suits, or they're all wearing the same team polo shirt, and they're talking and they're whispering and they're analyzing everything, and they're going to the big whiteboard and they're writing things down. How did they miss? How did everybody miss on Brock Purdy, Joe?
Well, I feel bad for him, because if he was just drafted in the last round, he'd have a new contract now. Yeah. But the fact that he wasn't, how do you miss on Tom Brady? There are no guarantees that particular individual is going to be the answer to your solution. I think that in so many instances, teams that draft high need more than just a quarterback. In San Francisco's case, they happen to have somebody fall in their lap who fit all the criteria that they were looking for at the quarterback position. And I think if you ask Kyle and John a question, say, did you expect Brock to be what he is today when you took him, when you signed him? I'd have to honestly say, they said, no, we didn't expect to be this good. We wanted him to be good. We'd love to see him be this good, but I don't think so. I mean, it's a bit of a crapshoot. You base it to a large degree on what you see on film, what you wind up when you talk to the young man, and then also, what kind of system did they run in college, and what's their aptitude. Those things there are very important when you sit down and say, we believe that you have a chance. And guys, you've heard me say this before. The quarterback position is the single most dependent position on the field. Without an offensive line, you're sunk. Without a running game, you're sunk. Look what Christian McCaffrey's done for the 49ers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Without
receivers, look at the Kansas City Chiefs. Most of the year, they kept dropping balls. You get to the last month of the season and into the playoffs, they're catching everything. Where are they now? They're world champions. And if your defense doesn't stop people, you got no chance. So when you look at that position, you want to be able to find somebody that you will be there over a period of time and you can build with. But, to find, it took Tom a while to get going. It took Peyton a while to get going. It took Troy Aikman a while to get going. It's not an easy position to play. I think it's the toughest position in all sports to play because you don't get time off like pitchers. You don't get 4 days off. Those 4 days you're practicing if you're beat up. If you got a broken collarbone, you deal with it. Now they pay them so much money, they don't let them play. But when I was in the league, if you wanted to keep your job, you put a uniform on, you went out there and you competed. That's the part that's amazing to me is just the fact that, they protect guys and they should because the economic investment is so large, right. But they protect guys now to make sure that you have them going forward. I mean, everybody, the conversation, I guarantee you, 2 conversations that'll come up this year. Aaron Rodgers, what will he be able to do with the Jets? And then Daniel Jones. Was the investment in Daniel Jones worth it?
You're right. Joe Theismann,
yeah. Of the conversations.
Yeah, appreciate that. Joe Theismann joining the Drive Guys here, 2-time Pro Bowler, APN MVP in 1983. Joe, you brought up Aaron Rodgers, at his age, 40, coming off an Achilles. How much do you think he has left? Like, what are you expecting from Aaron Rodgers and the Jets this season?
It depends on his arm. I think the leg will be fine. Same thing with Kirk Cousins. I think both of them will play well. They've had time to be able to heal. They wouldn't be on the field if they didn't feel like they could play, and also the medical staff felt like they couldn't play. You got to remember, that's Aaron's offense. Nathaniel Hackett was the coordinator when he went there. That's part of the reason why Aaron went. I guarantee it, because he knows this offense better than anybody on that football team. Probably better than the coaches because he has to implement it and run it. So it's him missing time and being efficient. The big thing is going to be, can they keep him upright? To me, nobody talks about, and San Francisco's historically had this, those 5 guys up front. You give me 5 guys up front that can play together. That's why Trent Williams is looking around going, whoa, I see some big money laying around. Yeah, maybe I'll grab some. But you look, those 5 guys up front are going to make a difference whether you win or lose. If you can protect that quarterback, they don't have to be great. They just have to be efficient and good at what they do. But if you don't have those 5 up front, take a look at Sam Howell, our kid in Washington last year, 65 sacks. That's just sacks.
Wow. Yeah. That's
not how many times you got hit. I mean, and Aaron went down, somebody putting him on the ground. So to me, I don't think offensive linemen get enough credit for the success of a franchise. What I always look at in the playoffs, and I think you see this in San Francisco, you saw it in Kansas City, you saw it in Philadelphia a few years back. You look at the starts that the offensive line have through the course of the year, and when you get down to the end of the year, if they're pretty much intact, that team's going to compete for a championship. More than any other position, those 5 guys. You keep them intact, they have a chance.
Joe, you came out of Notre Dame a couple of years ago.
A couple of years ago,
Joe, I was born and raised in Chicago. I went to a lot of Notre Dame games as a kid, and then don't get upset, Joe. I went to USC. But
hey, everybody's entitled to a mistake.
That's one of the things that I love about the rivalry with USC and Notre Dame is unbelievable respect between both universities. I had so many great times going back to South Bend. I've made so many great friends that came out from South Bend to Los Angeles. You played in such a great rivalry. We all know the history of it, going back to the 128,000 people at Soldier Field when the team took the train across to Chicago. What are some of your memories, even maybe one of your best memories of that rivalry, irrespective of wins or losses?
Well, I had a chance to play. We played. Well, first of all, one great memory for me was there was an offensive line coach by the name of Joe Gibbs in 1970 when we played USC out on the coast. Coach McKay was out there. It was unbelievable what that was. It was a torrential rainstorm. I threw for 500 some odd yards in this horrible rainstorm. And I remember Coach Gibbs coming up to me and he said, "Our quarterback can't hold the ball. How is this kid out there throwing the ball around?" That's one of my great memories. I caught a touchdown pass against USC from Coley O'Brien. Only touchdown pass I ever caught. And I tried to throw it out of the stadium, which I did not. But I just, I heaved it up into the stands. And then, we had another one in South Bend where they called a clip when it wasn't a clip. You've had the Bush push. There's been so many different instances. For me, to be able to get out on that field, life's a series of validations. Real quick, what you do is how do you validate yourself measured up against other people? When I was in high school, we used South River High School. We played New Brunswick. They were really good. If I played well against them, I belonged. When I was in college, and I could play well against the University of Southern California, because they had so many guys going to the pros, maybe I would have a chance to be able to play professional football. When I hit the professional level, it was the Dallas Cowboys were my barometer. If I could play well against them, then maybe I deserved to be here. And USC was always that barometer because they had so many talented people. So, they were incredibly talented. And we'd always go toe to toe with them. And the thing that made the rivalry so much is there was so much at stake all the time. That's where you get rivalries. Something has to be at stake.
No, you're right about that.
That's
Joe
great.
Theismann joining us, 18 comebacks, 22 game-winning drives in his NFL career. Joe, CG went to USC. I'm from Philadelphia. I'm a diehard Eagles fan. Tell me why my Eagles will upset the Niners. Tell me why the Eagles are the class of the NFC this season.
Saquon Barkley.
Yes.
I can't believe, this is one of those things is, at one time I wanted to be president of football operations of a club, but I love to study that side of it as well as the players. I love the game, but I look at some of the decisions that people make. How much money would it have cost you to keep Saquon Barkley in New York? Daniel Jones got his contract because Saquon Barkley was healthy 2 years ago. That's why he got the deal he got, because he had a running game. I think that's going to make a world of difference for Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia. It's funny. They got real old in the defensive line a couple of years ago. Now they got a lot younger. I think they've added some real talent to that football team, but I believe the difference will be Saquon. If Philadelphia is going to do what they want to do, and of course, being a Washington guy, I don't want them to do it. But I think Saquon will have an awful lot to say about it because he's so talented in so many ways.
You've done a lot of broadcasting, and it's always been fun to watch and listen to you. As you look at today, your broadcasts are a dime a dozen now, but it's not hard to see where the real talent lies, whether it's a play-by-play guy or an analyst. When you watch it, you ever think about, you want to call a network and say, you know what, you guys are getting this wrong. You're not going about this the right way. How do you view that?
Yeah, I am a Monday morning announcer. Okay, you have the Monday morning quarterbacks. I'm a Monday morning announcer, and I still look at the game because when I broadcast games, I watch the television. Every now and then, so I would glance up to the field, but I watched the TV because I wanted to talk about the things that the fans were seeing. You hear guys every now and then. I get a kick out of guys. They'll start talking, and then all of a sudden you hear them hesitate. That's the producer talking in their ear. Now, I was blessed with great directors and producers. They'd let you finish your sentence, and then they would help you, add some information for you. But I sit and I listen to guys, and, to me, this is the principle that I took when it came to broadcasting. It's the what and the why. The what is, what are you seeing? What are you seeing? What are your eyes telling you that you're seeing? The announcer's job, the analyst's job, is to tell you why that happened in a very succinct manner. So I call it the what and why business. This is what you saw as a fan. Now, my job is to tell you in a very short excerpt here why that happened. And to me, that's the key. That's the foundation for being a really, really good broadcaster. And let the game. Too many guys tend to think that the game's about them. It's not. It's not about the announcers. It's about the game. All we are is garnishment to this meal. And so, sometimes I listen to guys and, there has to be discipline. That was a great thing with Mike, Patrick, and Paul. I tried to get myself out. Paul and I get out, give Mike a chance to set the table. Down in distance, yardage, all the essentials that need to go. And you want to make it a good listen. That's the other. Let the telecast be a good listen.
Joe Theismann, yeah, I'm with you, Joe.
That's great. Yeah.
Joe, final question here for you. American Century Championship up at Edgewood and Tahoe. You're a golfer. How was that experience? I still have not made it up there. I've been out here for about 3 years or so. Tell me about that event and how much fun you have there.
You have got to come. First of all, American Century Investments is an incredible company. They give away 40% of their net profits, to the Stour Institute for Research on Disease in Kansas City. That's how great this company is. It isn't what we keep in our lives. It's what we're able to do for others. And that's what they do. But they put on the best show. There's a karaoke night that Travis Kelce winds up winning half the time because he screams and yells and everybody loves him. And, Alfonso Ribeiro is just, he's a natural. I mean, it's so much fun. And it's great to see the guys. It's great to meet the young kids and be able to get to talk to them a little bit, get to know them. This year I had a chance to play with Steve Young. Steve and I played on Sunday together, and we've known each other for years. It was great to spend a little bit of time. Like I say, it's a great chance to get to meet people. I met Miles Teller, Top Gun Maverick's one of my favorite movies. Mm-hmm. So I got a chance to meet him. I mean, I'm like a little kid out there. I really am. I just get a big kick out of meeting all these people.
What's your handicap now, Joe?
7. It's gone
okay,
up.
That's respectable. That's pretty solid.
I'd love to play with Joe, but I would drive the cart. That's what I would do.
It's on the rise. Let's put it that way.
Hey, appreciate it, Joe. Thanks for jumping on with us.
Man.
Two-time Pro Bowler, Super Bowl champ, Joe Theismann. Have a good one, Joe. Once again, we appreciate it, man.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for having me, guys. You bet. Bye-bye.
All right, great stuff there from Joe Theismann.
That's awesome.
That's a legend, man.
Legend, and an awesome guy.
These are, it's a guy I grew up watching.
You and me both.
And I mentioned I'm an Eagles guy. And I didn't like Joe Theismann back in the day when he was with Washington, but every Sunday it felt like, as an NFC East guy, those were the only teams in the league, those rivalries that he was talking about.
I hated him at Notre Dame,
right?
But he forced you to like his ability and appreciate his greatness as he went further into his wonderful NFL career. What a great dude, though. Just down to earth guy. He's a Jersey guy.
Right. Exactly. Yep. Born in East Brunswick, a legend. Somebody on the YouTube chat said, "Oh, I'm a big Washington fan. How'd you guys get Joe Theismann on?" Our boy Jay in the back.
Look at that.
Jay is on fire this week. Joe Theismann just joined us, and we got another special guest coming up, Isaiah Crawford of the Sacramento Kings, two-way player. He's going to be in here in studio. We're going to ask him about the upcoming season, talk to him about Summer League, and might he be the answer for the Kings at the backup wing spot, small forward spot. Isaiah Crawford coming up next here on The Drive, guys. Sactown Sports 1140.